The Honda HRV is one of the best-selling compact crossovers in the Kenyan market thanks to its reliability, good efficiency, and space packaging. But on the flip side, its price is a bit steep. In fact, were it not for that high price, it would have sold in even larger numbers. And speaking of high price, there's even a way more expensive crossover, which to be honest isn't that much better than the HRV, but its asking price is just above the ceiling. I'm talking about the Toyota CHR. Still on price, there is now a more affordable crossover, which is not common on Kenyan roads, but it's surprisingly good and offers very good value for money. And I reckon within a short time, it's going to seriously unsettle the segment leaders. This is the Peugeot 2008. We are going to be comparing these three crossovers in-depthly to find out whether the HRV should still be on top of your list or should it be dethroned by the more affordable Peugeot 2008, or maybe should the insanely expensive CHR be considered. Stay tuned for that. Consider subscribing to the channel for more informative content on cars as well as bikes, and welcome to iCave Auto Reviews. So the 2017 Toyota CHR is the first generation, which was in production from 2016 till present. The 2017 Honda HRV is the second generation, which was in production from 2013 till 2022. And lastly, the 2017 Peugeot 2008 is the first generation, which was in production from 2013 till 2018. So these are generally newer nameplates. As usual, let's begin with their prices. The most expensive compact crossover in this comparison is the Toyota CHR. A 2017 model, depending on the trim level, will set you back between 3.5 to around 4.3 million. Some can even top out at around 4.5 million shillings. It's just above the roof and insane for a compact crossover to cost this much. In fact, it's currently among, if not the most expensive crossover in the Kenyan market today. With such an amount, you could even get a proper SUV, like maybe a Toyota Prado. The second most expensive crossover in this comparison is the Honda HRV, which is currently going for between 2.5 to around 2.85 million shillings, again depending on the trim level. Lastly, the most affordable vehicle here is the Peugeot 2008. This crossover will set you back between 1.7 to a maximum of around 2 million shillings for a 2017 model. I've seen some 2018 models going for over 2 million, around 2.3, 2.4 million to be precise. So it's very decently priced, and I think it's partly because the demand for Peugeots is not that high. So their prices are also not that high compared to the competitors such as the HRV. Moving on to the engine options, the CHR comes with three: a 1200cc turbocharged 4-cylinder petrol engine, an 1800cc naturally aspirated engine, and lastly another 1800cc but in hybrid configuration. This crossover is available in front or all-wheel drive, and transmission-wise, the hybrid comes coupled to an eCVT, while the other two engine options can come coupled to either a CVT or a rear 6-speed manual. Generally, these engines are pretty reliable, especially the 1800cc naturally aspirated option. It's very decent in terms of power. The 1200cc is also good enough, but now you have a turbo to worry about, so strict maintenance is key. Now, with the insanely high fuel prices, which will in fact keep rising, the hybrid may be an ideal option, but let's talk about that in the fuel consumption segment. The Honda HRV also comes with three engine options: a 1500cc naturally aspirated option, an 1800cc which is also naturally aspirated, and lastly another 1500cc but in hybrid configuration. This car is also available in either front or all-wheel drive, and in terms of the transmission, you can either get a CVT, a rear 6-speed manual, or a 7-speed dual clutch gearbox, exclusively for the hybrid variants. The hybrid option has had issues to do with the DCT. DCT are generally complex transmissions. Yes, they are fast when it comes to shifting, but they can also be prone to failure and jerky gear changes, especially in frequent stop and go traffic, which can also lead to rapid wear of that transmission. The 1500cc option, on the other hand, is a bit sluggish, especially when loaded with 5 passengers and a bit of cargo. But apart from that, it's generally very reliable. The 1.8 is better in terms of performance, but the fuel consumption will suffer slightly. The Peugeot 2008 mostly comes with 4 engine options: a 1200cc 3-cylinder engine that is either naturally aspirated or turbocharged. Then there's a 1600cc 4-cylinder petrol engine that is again either naturally aspirated or turbocharged. It's a unique crossover in this comparison in the sense that it doesn't have a hybrid option and it also doesn't have a CVT gearbox. It only comes coupled to either a 6-speed torque converter automatic or a 5 or 6-speed manual. Its uniqueness doesn't stop there. It also doesn't feature all-wheel drive, but instead comes with a very intelligent grip control feature that has several modes such as standard, mud, snow, sand, and ESP off. It's a feature that alters the traction control to give good grip so as to enable the car extricate itself from slippery surfaces. Yes, it's not as good as an all-wheel drive system, but it's way better than just a standard front-wheel drive. There are also diesel options, but those are a bit of a hit and miss when it comes to reliability. And they are in fact Ford engines, which are shared by Peugeots and some Mazdas. Let's talk a bit about these engines. The 1200cc 3-cylinder engine is just sluggish. It's an ideal option for city drives, but you'll notice its sluggishness the moment you are on the highway with 4 to 5 passengers on board. And it will consequently consume more fuel because you'll now have to work hard on the accelerator to squeeze out as much power as possible. The turbo option is better, but maintenance is key, just like in any other turbocharged car. The 1.6 liter non-turbo is decent enough. In fact, I would say better than the 1200cc turbo, especially in terms of reliability. The 1.6 liter turbo is way better in terms of performance, but again, the efficiency figures will suffer slightly. So generally, the engine that will give you peace of mind and good efficiency is the 1.6 liter non-turbo. Moving on to fuel consumption, this is now becoming a sensitive topic because fuel prices are above the ceiling and they will most likely keep going high. It's going to become really tough and people will now be forced to either go for hybrid or small displacement engines. The 1.2 liter turbo in the CHR will give around 16 kilometers per liter depending on how you drive. The 1.8 liter around 14 kilometers per liter and the 1.8 hybrid between 20 to around 26 kilometers per liter, which is quite good. The 1.5 in the HRV will give around 16 kilometers per liter, the 1.8 around 14 kilometers per liter, and lastly the hybrid around 20 to 27 kilometers per liter. The 1.2 liter 3-cylinder will give roughly between 16 to 22 kilometers per liter depending on if it's naturally aspirated or turbocharged, which is quite good considering it's an anhybrid. Then the 1.6 liter 4-cylinder will give between 14 to about 17 kilometers per liter, again depending on if it's naturally aspirated or turbocharged. In fact, that 1.2 is almost in hybrid category, so you get very good efficiency without the complexity of hybrid technology. The hybrid variants of the CHR get 43 liter fuel tank capacity while the non-hybrids get a larger 50 liter tank. The HRV gets a 40 liter tank and the 2008 gets a 50 liter tank. In terms of the stopping power, all these crossovers get ventilated discs at the front and solid discs at the back. The CHR has a ground clearance of about 155 millimeters. the HRV around 170 millimeters, which is quite good and above the recommended 165 millimeters. And lastly, the 2008 gets a 165 millimeter clearance. So going over bumps will not be such a challenge in these vehicles. The carb weight of the CHR measures between 1380 to 1460 kgs, with the hybrids being the heaviest. The HRV measures between 1180 to 1270 kgs and the Peugeot between 1045 to 1200 kgs. Lastly, some of the extra features you can expect to get in these crossovers include leather interior, LED lights, fog lights, keyless entry and go, a sunroof in the CHR and HRV, while the 2008 can come with a panoramic glass roof. There's also larger alloy wheels, cruise control, and a suite of active driver assist safety features such as blind spot detection, lane departure alert, and collision mitigation. So generally not bad. How about their exteriors and interiors? Do let me know which one you would prefer in terms of the exterior design. I would say the CHR looks quite sportish, also coupe-like. It looks very aggressive and elegant. The HRV is simple but in a good and mature way. It's a design that will most likely appeal not only to younger clients but also older ones. Lastly, the 2008 is also a looker and it will in fact stand out on Kenyan roads. It's not every day that you will get to see a Peugeot 2008. Interior-wise, the CHR seems a bit claustrophobic, especially at the back, due to the window line that rises up steeply, and a dark interior color makes it look even worse. That aside, the dash design is well executed. The seats are very comfortable and supportive. Space-wise, it's good enough at the front, but at the back, the headroom may not be that good, especially for taller people. The legroom is decent, but again, taller people may struggle a bit. The space back there is suitable for two adults, but a third can be squeezed for shorter distances. The boot is average at best, but the rear seats can always be folded down to increase the luggage capacity whenever the need arises. The Honda HR-V, on the other hand, has a basic interior, but the controls are well placed and the build quality is good enough. Space at the front is very good, and even at the back, it's decent enough, better than in the Toyota CHR. The Magic Seats make it the most practical crossover in the segment. You can just flip up the seat bases and carry bulkier items. You can still even fold down those back seats to increase the boot capacity, which even in its standard configuration is still good enough. The Peugeot's cabin is not as plain as that of the HRV. It's a bit more interesting. The only slight issue, depending on your driving position, may be the steering wheel, which may obscure the instrument cluster. But aside from that, it's a well thought out design. It's the only crossover here that features a mechanical handbrake, which is interestingly designed. And a mechanical handbrake is a good thing. It just means you have less things to go wrong, as opposed to the electronic handbrakes, which are prone to failure. Space at the front is decent, though a bit narrow. The same can be said about the back. It's good enough, not that spacious but also not that tight. The boot is generous enough to swallow a large suitcase and a few other smaller items. So with all that out of the way, let's very quickly take a look at each crossover's strong and weak points before we wrap up the video by giving my recommendation. Beginning with the Toyota CHR, this crossover has good handling and driving dynamics thanks to the new TNGA platform. It's fuel efficient, especially the hybrid variant. It's reliable, and we could also say it looks good and sportish. It's a car that will definitely turn heads. On to its weak points, by far the major one is the price, which will seriously hinder the sales of this crossover. Another weak point is the claustrophobic interior, especially at the back. And lastly, the body parts can be a pain to get, and if you get them, they will cost a fortune. Onto the Honda HRV, this crossover offers good comfort, efficiency, and outstanding practicality. It's also very reliable, especially the non-hybrids. And lastly, its resale value is also very good. Onto its weaknesses, the first one is the price. It's not as expensive as the Toyota CHR, but still it's not that affordable and will hence lock out some clients. Secondly, its body parts are also quite expensive. Thirdly, the hybrid variants may be prone to DCT issues. The electronic handbrake is also known to develop issues at some point. Lastly, the Peugeot 2008 is a unique proposition. This crossover offers the best value for money. At that asking price, you get a full efficient, reliable, and unique vehicle. Its only weak points are a bit of electrical issues, then the turbo options are a bit more sensitive and hence need careful maintenance. Some parts can also be a bit difficult to get, especially considering that this is a new car in the Kenyan market. So, which one should you go for? Straight to the point, the Peugeot 2008 makes a lot of sense. It looks good, it's very affordable, it's efficient and reliable as well. You get a proper automatic gearbox and a mechanical handbrake, so generally you have less things to go wrong. With all these benefits, why not a Peugeot 2008? Would you go for it? Do let me know your opinion in the comment section. Personally, I would definitely go for it. The HRV is also a very good car, but if you want to stand out from the crowd at an affordable price, then the Peugeot is the crossover for you. If finances allow and you really like the Toyota CHR, then you could also go for it. Thanks a lot for watching. As always, if you have any enquiries, feel free to reach me via WhatsApp or email. Before you go, please don't forget to subscribe for more informative content on cars as well as bikes. That's it for this particular episode. Stay safe, drive safe, and see you in the next one.